Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at, well, a pretty radical take on the whole Bitcoin versus gold debate.
That's right. We constantly hear Bitcoin called digital gold, right? Like it's inevitably going to take over.
Exactly. But what if that whole narrative, that whole framing of a war is actually built on a huge miscalculation?
Well, that's the core argument of the paper we're diving into today, why Bitcoin misjudged the throne. It suggests Bitcoin's issue isn't the tech, that tech is brilliant, revolutionary even.
Okay, so what is the issue then, according to this source?
It's about context. The paper argues Bitcoin mistook this amazing technical leap for a green light to just overturn millennia of how humans establish trust.
Right, so let's get into that main point. The source says there was a big strategic mistake from the start.
Yeah, Bitcoin emerged from the ashes of the 2008 crisis, and it zeroed in on the banks, the corruptible middleman, as the problem. That was its target.
Makes sense, given the timing and the message in the Genesis block.
Absolutely. But here's the twist the paper presents. Focusing on the banks was like attacking the guards but ignoring the king. Bitcoin thought the financial system was the throne.
But the real power, the source suggests, was something else entirely.
Something much older. The paper argues replacing the banks isn't just a tech upgrade. It's this massive project of, and they actually use this phrase, anthropological, cultural, and psychological engineering.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
That's a much bigger task than just writing better code.
Infinitely bigger. It suggests the banks were just the visible fortress, the real ancient sovereign they were guarding. Gold.
So to understand this argument, we really need to grasp what gold represented, and maybe still represents, beyond just backing currency before 1971.
It was way more than just an asset in a vault. The source calls gold a philosophical anchor in tangible reality.
Tangible reality, that feels important. Why gold? Why did it become this universal standard across totally separate cultures?
Well, think about it. You didn't need a government or a bank to tell you gold was valuable. Its value was verifiable through your own senses.
You could hold it, feel its weight, see it shine.
Exactly. You could test it. Its scarcity wasn't based on a rule someone made up. The paper points out its scarcity is cosmic, forged in dying stars. And it lasts. It's practically eternal, doesn't rust or decay.
It's elemental.
Yeah.
So under the gold standard, a banknote wasn't valuable in itself. It was basically, what, an IOU?
A claim check. A claim on that tangible, immutable truth locked away somewhere. The trust wasn't in the paper. It was rooted in the physical reality of the gold.
Okay, that makes sense for the past. But the link was cut in 71, so why didn't the whole system just crumble?
This is where the source gets really interesting. It argues the system kept standing because of the ghost of that golden anchor.
The ghost of gold. I like that. So you mean things like institutional momentum, social agreements? Just inertia keeping it going.
Inertia, yes, but also the deep psychological framework. I mean, think about our language. We still talk about the gold standard for anything excellent, as good as gold.
Right. Those phrases betray that the underlying idea of gold as the ultimate value is still there, even if the physical link is gone.
Precisely. The trust sort of shifted from the metal itself to the institution's promising value, but leaning on that deep-seated memory of gold.
But hang on, if gold's power now rests on this ghost on memory and inertia, isn't that kind of fragile? Doesn't Bitcoin's provable mathematical scarcity offer something more solid?
That's the natural counter-argument, definitely. But the source circles back to Bitcoin's initial strategy. It says Bitcoin made a critical error right at the start in identifying its true enemy.
Okay, let's pivot to that. Section 2. Bitcoin's tactical blunder. We know the context 2008, the banks, the Genesis block message. Proof of work was genius, creating digital scarcity.
No question, the innovation was incredible. But the paper calls the strategy fighting the last war. Bitcoin went after the institutions, the banks. The visible enemy.
Attacking the fortress, but missing the kingdom it was built to protect. Is that the idea?
That sums it up perfectly. Bitcoin targeted the central bank's ledger, the fiat system, thinking that was the ultimate rival.
When really?
When really, its true competitor, according to this analysis, was the 3,000-year-old narrative of value sleeping silently in the vault. Gold. The banks are recent history. Gold is ancient.
So if this perspective holds, Bitcoin's founders, maybe the whole community, just drastically underestimated the scale of the challenge.
That's the core critique. It wasn't just about building a better mousetrap, a better ledger. It was about trying to fundamentally rewrite how humans conceive of and believe in value.
That's not a software update. That's deep cultural change. Millennia in the making.
Exactly. That anthropological engineering they mentioned, it requires shifting something deep in the collective subconscious, not just installing new software.
Which makes the challenge sound almost impossible.
Mm.
This leads us into what the paper calls the insurmountable moats around gold's throne. And these aren't just economic moats, right?
No, they're almost metaphysical, you could say. The first big one is temporal sovereignty. Think about it. Gold existed before us, before life on Earth even.
Forged in stars, like you said. Its value is pre-human, pre-technology.
And crucially, it doesn't need any modern tech to exist or be valuable. It just is.
Whereas Bitcoin, even with its decentralization, it absolutely needs our current infrastructure.
Completely dependent. It needs the internet, power grids, satellites, computers all working together constantly. That makes it, in the paper's view, metaphysically vulnerable.
Vulnerable how? I mean, the network is designed to be resilient against attack.
Resilient against certain types of attack, yes. Political interference, censorship, it's very strong there. But the vulnerability discussed here is more existential. What happens if the global power grid goes down for months? Gold is still gold. Bitcoin, it becomes essentially inaccessible data.
Okay, I see the distinction. One relies on physics, the other on a complex, energy-hungry human system.
A system that's relatively fragile in the grand scheme of things.
All right, let's talk about the next moat, which feels even less rational. The mythological and biological aspect.
Yeah, this connects right back to that anthropological engineering challenge. Gold isn't just valuable, it's woven into our deepest stories.
The golden calf, El Dorado, King Midas, Tutankhamun's mask. It's everywhere in myth and religion.
It carries this immense weight of history and meaning that we register almost subconsciously. Bitcoin is, 15 years old? It has code, it has a white paper, but it doesn't have that ancient resonance.
And the biological part, you mean we're actually wired to like it?
The paper suggests so. Our primate brains, our visual cortex, are drawn to its specific luster, its color, its physical properties, the weight, the density, how it feels in your hand are inherently satisfying in a way that pure information isn't.
It has a physical presence Bitcoin lacks. Bitcoin is abstract code.
Exactly. One is an elemental reality we evolved alongside. The other is a brilliant human representation of value. The source argues you just can't equate the two directly.
Okay, let's tackle scarcity then, because that's Bitcoin's big claim. The hard cap of 21 million coins. Provably scarce.
Provably scarce, yes, but the paper draws a critical line between two types of scarcity.
Which are?
Bitcoin's scarcity is mathematical and by design. It's a rule, an incredibly clever and well-defended rule set by its creator, but it is a human construct. Theoretically, it could be changed, forked, even if socially difficult.
Okay, rule versus
a law of the universe. Gold's scarcity is cosmic and physical. The amount of gold in the Earth's crust wasn't decided by a committee or a white paper. It was determined by astrophysics, by the explosions of stars billions of years ago.
That scarcity is immutable in a way no human protocol can ever truly be.
That's the argument. The universe set gold's supply limit. Humans set Bitcoin's. It's a fundamental difference in the nature of that scarcity.
So putting this all together, if gold has these deep moats, time, myth, biology, cosmic scarcity, what does that actually mean for Bitcoin? Does the source conclude it's a failed project?
No, not a failure at all. The error identified is more like hubris. The belief that a technically superior system could just overwrite thousands of years of ingrained human behavior and belief. It was a misunderstanding of the sheer scale of the ambition.
So, if not the great usurper destined to kick gold off the throne, what's the alternative path? What's the more realistic destiny outlined here?
A more humble, perhaps ultimately more powerful role. Bitcoin as a digital successor or maybe a complementary sovereign. Think gold 2.0.
Gold 2.0 meaning?
Meaning a hard, scarce, non-state store of value that's native to the digital world. A world where physical gold is actually quite clumsy and difficult to use.
So Bitcoin handles the digital realm fast, verifiable, borderless transactions and value storage online. And gold continues its reign over the sort of physical, long-term psychological store of value.
Exactly. Coexistence. Specialization, not replacement. Bitcoin can build its own legitimacy in the digital domain where its strengths really shine without needing to tear down the old temple.
That completely reframes the narrative, doesn't it? From a deathmatch to different tools for different jobs almost.
It shifts the focus from pure tech specs to anthropology, psychology, history. The real battle isn't just code versus code or even code versus metal. It's about how humans trust, how we value, how we believe.
Which leaves us, and you listening, with a final thought to chew on. The paper implies Bitcoin's ultimate test isn't about the hash rate, or the price, or transaction speed.
The real test is this. Can Bitcoin build its own throne, its own deep-seated legitimacy within the new digital territory it's helping to create? And can it do that without feeling the need to desecrate that ancient silent temple where the old king, gold, still resides? That's the question for the future.
A profound challenge to consider. Thanks for joining us for the deep dive.